Hey everybody, welcome back to Tenza Motorsports. Today back with us again, the 986 Boxster. We're gonna be doing some control arms. Before we get into today's project, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, like if you enjoy this type of content. Also make sure to check us out on Instagram, Tenza_Motorsports. We do giveaways, and all you have to do to be part of those giveaways is be following us. These control arms are brought to us by Maxpeedingrods. Everything that we use today will be linked down in the description below, and we also have a discount code. Here it is. It will also be in the description and in the comments. These right here are basically an OEM replacement. We were going to do an aftermarket, like an upgrade, but it didn't seem like there's a lot of, kind of weird, not a lot of suspension upgrades for these older Porsches. So a little bit weird, but this is better than what it has on it now. They have been on the car since 2000, so almost 25 years at this point, and they have 140,000 miles on them. So what we're gonna be doing today is pulling the old ones off, putting the new ones on. One thing that I didn't realize about these until I got these from Maxpeedingrods is that all of them are the exact same. Front and rear, right and left, same part number, everything. So kind of weird. If that's wrong, then I guess we'll find out. But that's what it looks like to me. Reasons why you'd be replacing these: they'll start to squeak. The boots on these end here, I'll show you real quick. The boots will actually start to leak. These boots here. And they'll start squeaking. This bushing here can go bad, this bushing here can go bad. So there's a few attachment points to the car, and if any one of these start to go bad, you'll lose handling performance. It'll start to squeak and make noise. So yeah, not too crazy of a project. We'll get those done. And car hasn't been running right, so we're actually doing some O2 sensors today as well. So hopefully when we get this done, we'll be able to take it for a drive. But yeah, we'll get them installed. I'll show you guys how to do it. Pretty simple. So let's get it started. So first we'll start by removing this panel out from underneath the car. There's about 4 10mm plastic nuts to get this off. And then once we're underneath the car, it's pretty straightforward. So we've already started working on it just to make sure that they're gonna come loose. There's gonna be 3 attachment points. So the ball joint's back up in here, it's just in the shadows. Right there, you can see the nut. And then this is the middle one, and then the rear one is back here. So pretty simple on the front here. We do have some pickle forks because doing that ball joint without pickle forks is like basically impossible. You can smack it around all you want, but I've spent hours trying to get those out when a $10 pickle fork from Harbor Freight is like a 2-minute job. Here is the back of the car. You can see the exhaust headers. Those are our custom ones that we just put in. Those are by Flash Arc, and I'll actually have those linked in the description as well. Over here, same thing, control arm. There's your rear bolts, the middle ones, and then there is the ball joint. So you might have to take the wheels off. We're gonna be doing some other work back here, so we might be taking the wheels off anyways, but it's pretty simple all the way throughout. You don't have to do this on a lift, but obviously it's preferred. So we're gonna pull one of these old ones out, get it side by side with one of the new ones, see kind of the difference and how they've aged and worn over the last 20 some odd years, and then we'll go from there. So I'm glad this came up. We just pulled this control arm off. This is the driver's side, and if you look really closely, you can actually see that there's a sleeve on the end of this ball joint. And when we first pulled it out, we were kind of freaking out. We were like, oh my gosh, it looks completely different than a new control arm. So here it is side by side, and basically what you're seeing, that top silver piece, what you're seeing is just the top of that right there. And so basically there's a sleeve inside the aluminum knuckle. So we have a pulley puller and a couple other different styles of pullers. We're gonna be getting this off of that ball joint, and then once we figure out which one works best, we'll be reporting back. So we're gonna get that done real quick, and then we will be able to reinstall it. The way we're gonna do it is by putting this piece into the car first and making sure that these teeth line up. Once it's kind of in there, we'll tap it in with a hammer so it doesn't come out, and then we'll go ahead and put on the new arm, and that should squeeze everything back in place. So we did eventually get the collar off. We did have to try out a few different pullers. We tried this one here. This one's actually a GM, like a steering wheel puller. None of those worked. It ended up being a Matco puller. I will have the part number right here for the kit that this is in. We were able to get this off, and then like I said, we're gonna be slipping this into the knuckle. This does not actually have a part number that I can see on it, and when we did the research, we couldn't seem to find this separately. So make sure you're keeping an eye out for that. Don't throw your control arms away until you've inspected them to make sure that you've removed this. The biggest problem was when we were removing the control arm, we were actually prying on the arm against the knuckle and not actually getting the pickle fork in between the ball joint and this collar here, which is actually in the knuckle. You can see the damage right here on the control arm where we were prying against this and the knuckle instead of coming in from here. So when we go to do it again, we're gonna try to get the pickle fork in there. If it comes out with the sleeve on it again, it's not a big deal. We'll just pull that one off, but ideally this would stay on the car. We finally got the two front control arms on. This bolt here, and then you don't have to completely remove this one if you don't want to, but we did on this side. It made it a little bit easier. We didn't on the other side because it's really not that difficult to just swing this out of the way. The hardest thing was actually getting the pickle fork in there enough to remove the original ball joint, and then this side right here was the one that had the sleeve come out. If you took this to a dealership, this would probably be a several $1,000 job. If you're doing it yourself and you're buying these control arms, it's probably worth it to invest in a few tools. The air hammers can be purchased for between $150 to $600, and then a pulley puller, you know, is another couple $100. It's really worth that investment if you're going to be working on your car a lot. If you're not going to be working on your car a lot, maybe you could rent or loan those tools from somebody, but yeah, it's all about having the right tools. And in this case, the pulley puller and the air hammer definitely make it a lot easier. You can do just the normal pickle forks here. This is just like a $10 one from Harbor Freight. It did get it off this side, but we actually used a real air hammer on the other side. So now we're gonna move over to the back. The back is a little bit tighter, but we're not super worried about this either. There's a nut for the top of the ball joint. This nut and bolt right here for whatever arm that is. Porsche seems to have, a lot of German cars have a lot of different weird control arms. I think it's your trailing arm or something like that. So we'll have to slide that out of the way. This one is actually really long and goes way up into the car. And so it's probably not one that you can remove very easily. And then the other bolt is right here. And like I said, it is a little bit tighter. So that's it right there. And then same on the other side. It's really just getting in there, and then we should be able to run the air hammer from right here. So here is a rear control arm installed. I actually think the rear ended up being a little bit easier, and only because if you take this bar off here, you can just slip the arm straight down. You can see right there, that's the back side of the arm. There is just 4 15mm nuts right here, and then a 15mm bolt on the end. This is your camber adjustments in the rear. So obviously, anytime you're doing any suspension work, control arms, tie rod ends, suspension, you're gonna need to completely realign your car. Actually, you know, what's crazy is the back, we didn't even have to use the pickle fork to get it out. It just slipped right out. And if you come over here to the driver's side, you can see that this side has dropped down, and we haven't done any prying on it at all. It just came right off. So hopefully that is a good thing. I don't know why they would be loose like that. I don't know why, if it would be an issue moving forward, if the collar in there is loose or something. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully we just got lucky in the back. Sometimes that does happen, but we'll make sure when we put the new arms that this is cranked down real tight, that it is torqued to spec. So the control arms are now on our 986 Boxster, but unfortunately the Boxster itself is still having some misfire issues. I'll have all the codes right here, so if anybody knows what's going on with that car, maybe we could get a little bit of help. Seems like basically half the engine isn't happy, and we're not sure if it's coil packs, we're not sure if it's injectors. We put new O2 sensors on it the other night, and unfortunately that just wasn't the fix for what we are fighting. So we are unfortunately not driving the car today in this video, but we were very happy with the Maxpeedingrods control arms. We were a little bit freaked out, I'll be honest. It did take a few days actually to record that video, because when we had pulled that control arm off and saw that sleeve, we were freaking out, like, why is this look so much different? And we didn't realize until later that it was just a sleeve and we needed to fix it. Big thanks to Maxpeedingrods. They really do have really good parts, and their catalog of parts continue to get bigger and bigger, and we really enjoy working with them. Always been really happy with them. So we will be driving that 986 Boxster ASAP. We do have some crank position sensors, some cam position sensors coming in, and like I said, we're going to check some injectors and coil packs. So yes, unfortunately we're not driving the car. Apologize for that. This is also why you haven't seen the ECS tuning coilovers that we did on that car, why you haven't seen like an on-road review. The car is just down. We have an underdrive pulley that we've installed on the car, and we haven't been able to like experience anything yet this summer. So been kind of frustrating, but I guess that's what you get when you buy a $2,000 Porsche. So thanks again everybody so much for watching. Comments and questions down in the comment section below. Let me know if you know what the fix for some of those engine codes are, and we will see everybody in the next video.
Bam!